So this tip is for anyone who has ever recorded and produced their own song, only to find out later that it is much quieter than any professionally done recording that you can reference it to. When you're new to producing, this may seem like the most frustrating thing in the world. It seems like no matter how hard you try, your song is still the quietest on any playlist that you put it on. Your music sounds great on a good sound system when you can crank up the volume, but it's barely audible on a phone speaker or a laptop. Using the hard limiter can give you an edge here. It's a tool that will allow you to boost your entire mix by a few decibels without introducing any clipping. The hard limiter is a type of audio compressor, just like any other, except the compression ratio is much higher. So it doesn't allow any of the sound to be louder than a predefined volume threshold. This allows you to compress everything by a few decibels, thus creating a little bit of headroom so you can turn up the entire song even louder. The only downside is that if you set the limiter to compress too much of the signal, you will sacrifice audio quality or even cause unwanted distortion. So it's best to only boost your song by about 5 decibels or less using this method. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a visual on how this entire concept works. We're over here in Audacity. Audacity is a free audio editing program, so you can do this exact same technique on your computer as well. I will provide a download link to Audacity in the description of this video. And I have to point out that this is not sponsored or an affiliate offer or anything like that. I just want you to be able to try the same technique on the same software that I'm using. But this concept will work on pretty much so any audio program that you happen to use instead. So this is just a short clip of myself playing the guitar that I have prepared for the purpose of the demonstration. So I'll just play it. It's kind of quiet. So the first thing we need to do before we do any of this is we want to make sure that this is turned up as loud as it can be without having any clipping in the signal. So we'll just go up here to Effect, Amplify, and it'll show you right there, 5.87 decibels is as loud as this can be turned up without any clipping. You could go more if you click this Allow Clipping option, but you don't want to do that because if the sound level goes above 0 decibels, then that's going to create distortion and bad audio quality, all the stuff you don't want. So we don't want it to clip at all, obviously. So we'll just do the 5.87 there, and now you'll see that this is as loud as it can possibly be. We have this one peak right here that's hitting the very edge. So what we want to do now is we want to take these loud peaks, which are also called the transients, and we want to kind of squash those down a little bit so we have more room to turn the entire track up louder, right? So we'll go over here to Effect, down here to Limiter, and make sure up here it says that it's a hard limiter. You don't really have to worry about too many of these other controls right now except for the limit to dB. So we have it set to -6 here, and normally that's a little bit heavier than I would like to go. Normally if I'm going to be doing this to an entire song, I probably wouldn't go much more than about -5. I want to keep it definitely under -5. My comfort zone is about -3 or less, I think is what I use for most songs that I master. Anyway, this time just to show you what it's actually going on here, we're going to set it a little bit more aggressively. So this time we're going to go with -6. And down here where it says apply makeup gain, all that means is that after it's done compressing, that it will turn the volume up louder for us. So just to illustrate my point here, we're going to leave this off. So apply makeup gain, we're going to say no. And then we'll hit OK, and then we'll watch the magic happen up here. You'll see it visually when the compression happens. So watch what's going on up here with the waveform. See how all those spiky transients just got squished down by a whole bunch. And the whole waveform is now a lot more consistent as far as how loud it peaks where it peaks, right? So now we can just go back to our amplify, and you'll notice since we compressed 6 decibels off of it, -6 was our threshold. So now we have a whole new 6 decibels that we can turn up the entire sound. And now the entire thing is much louder than it was before. And now we can play it and hear how it sounds. So yeah, there you go. That's hard limiter right there. And you can apply that to your own tracks and your own songs. If you're looking for that extra little bit of loudness, that extra few decibels on top, just break out the hard limiter, just squish down your peaks a little bit, and that will allow you to turn the entire thing up louder. So this hard limiter technique is best applied in the mastering stage. After all the mixing in the song is done and you're preparing the final product to be shown to the world. Mastering is where you add the final little touches, the extra level of polish. The hard limiter can also be used to tame a really messy sound that has a lot of random loud spikes, but it's actually better to use more of a standard audio compressor in this instance, since they essentially do the same job, only a little bit different. The benefit of using a standard audio compressor instead of a limiter is the ability to adjust the attack and release times, as well as the compression ratio, for less distortion and more nuanced control when shaping your sounds. So the main difference is that the compression ratio of the hard limiter is much higher than you would typically use for more subtle audio compression. So essentially, every compressor can be used as a limiter if you increase the ratio high enough. Usually it's a ratio of around 10:1 that would be considered a limiter, and anything lower from 1:1 up to 9:1 would just be considered a regular compressor. So with a ratio around 10:1, this means that the audio signal is being compressed so hard that nothing can be louder than the volume threshold at which the compression is activated. So that's just sort of the brief overview explanation of the hard limiter. There's a few other factors to consider, but I'm not going to go into any more detail here. I just wanted to demonstrate how you can use this technique to make your final mix just a little bit louder than you would otherwise. So that's all for now. I hope that helps get your home recordings and demo songs a little bit more professional and a little bit more competitive volume-wise. I have been Ty Wulf, and this was another quick tip. If you like what you see here, check out the rest of my channel because I have more videos like this, and I have some songs that I play too if you're into checking out any of that as well. As always, we appreciate the likes, the subscribes, and the comments. It's not just about my fragile musician's ego. It's so we can show the YouTube algorithm that there's something going on over here, and they should show my stuff to more people. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have fun out there.